everyone. Welcome to day 15 of our Bible in a Year plan. Today we're going to be reading through Genesis chapters 40 and 41. The end of chapter 39 left Joseph in a prison cell for an accusation for something he didn't do. It almost makes you think, why even bother being obedient? If Joseph had just gone along with Potiphar's wife and did what she asked, he'd probably still have his nice job. But instead, he honored God by not sinning against him or sinning against Potiphar or his wife, and it landed him in prison. That seems so backwards. He does right by God and he suffers severe consequences. So I guess obedience gets you nowhere, right? Well, no, I wouldn't say that. Because at the end of the chapter, we see that the Lord was with Joseph and he was kind to him and he was still favored even in the prison cell. And who knows, if Joseph had fallen into sin and kept his job, he might have stayed there for the rest of his life. And I guess that sounds nice, but he still would have been subject to someone else. And even worse, he would have lived as a slave to sin. And he might have gotten caught later on and possibly in the act. And imagine the rage and the consequences that would have fallen upon him then. But because of his obedience and loyalty, we know that God was with Joseph. God was kind to Joseph. God gave him favor and power and authority. From the fields that his brothers worked in, to Potiphar's house, and now in the prison cell. And we know, since we get to read ahead, that there will be a redemption story that will use that favor and authority and put Joseph in a position greater than he could have ever dreamed of. Do you see what I did there? Dreamed of? Because Joseph had... Never mind. So I would say that the obedience and the loyalty and the honor to God was worth it the whole time. Joseph was faithful through the trials, the well, the false accusation, the prison. And no matter what situation that he was thrown into, he was put into a position of leadership and authority. And even though later on in the reading, we see that the cupbearer who was restored to his position, just like Joseph had told him, forgot about Joseph once he was back out in the world, Joseph was still faithful to God. And here's where it gets really good. Pharaoh has a dream and no one can help him with it. And that's when the cupbearer remembers Joseph. Better late than never, I guess. When Joseph was finally brought out of the prison and brought before Pharaoh, every word out of his mouth acknowledged God. At this point, Joseph had learned to lean not on his own strength and understanding, but on the plan and the purpose of God. So now he's before Pharaoh and asked to use this gifting from God. Pharaoh tries to credit this gift to Joseph, but Joseph refuses to take credit and he acknowledges God in all of his ways. Joseph interprets the dream, and Pharaoh in turn acknowledges this power from God. Joseph tells Pharaoh what he should do, and Pharaoh realizes that Joseph operates from this power and this gifting that is directly from his God. And because of that, Joseph is the only one eligible to carry out the plan. Joseph had been used to planning and leadership and authority. All of those rough patches were spent learning to acknowledge and lean on God with the authority and the favor given to him by God. And by this time that he was brought before Pharaoh, his character had been so refined that he was prepared for this position that Pharaoh was going to give him. We see by the end of chapter 41 that Joseph's life had made a huge turnaround for the better. He even has a new family, and he names his firstborn son Manasseh. Manasseh means to forget. After so many years of being faithful while being forgotten, God helps Joseph forget. Forget the pain and the suffering and the hardship. His second son was named Ephraim because God made him fruitful in the land of suffering. Have you ever felt forgotten? Have you ever felt that no matter what you do, you just can't get ahead? Do not grow weary in doing the right thing. God will be with you and he will help you and he'll help you heal and forget and bear good fruit. Come back tomorrow because Joseph's story gets even crazier. Can't wait to see you then. Have a blessed day.